Hey, Slater Crusaders, we are in a battle for reality. That's the era we live in right now. The misinformation's everywhere. It's nonstop. You're bombarded with it. And we could spend the whole show every day, and that's where we're headed. It's going to be like nothing you've never seen before, anything you've ever seen before coming up here with the election, but just misinformation, just straight up, flat out misinformation. This is Pete Buttigieg. Remember him the other day? He said, we're in danger of a majority of justices on the Supreme Court being chosen by presidents who didn't even get the majority of the popular vote. Any way you look at it, we're getting less democratic by the day. So first of all, we don't live in a democracy, but he's also wrong. George W. Bush nominated Alito and Roberts, and they were nominated after the 2004 election, where W did get a majority of the popular vote. There's 5 conservatives on the court right now, soon to be a 6th. So the claim is that none of them were appointed by a Republican who won the popular vote. So H.W. Bush nominated Clarence Thomas after winning the popular vote. Both of W's nominees were after he won the popular vote, which isn't even a thing, by the way, the popular vote, so don't be distracted by that. And then, of course, you have Trump's 2 and then soon to be a 3rd. But that claim is factually wrong. And it takes 2 seconds to look up. Like, this isn't now, not only that, not only were the Republicans on the court nominated by someone who won the popular vote, which isn't a thing, but RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was appointed by Bill Clinton after his 92 election, where he only got 43% of the vote. So he didn't even get a majority of the vote. I don't want to go and do a whole thing about democracy. We're going to do a whole thing, hopefully next week, about the Electoral College. We don't live in a democracy. We don't live in a country with majority rule by design and for good reason. And we talked to David Harsanyi about it, I think last Thursday, who wrote a book about democracy. And he had this great line about how people who say they like democracy don't like it as much as they think they do. Anyway, I don't want to get off track. The point here is about misinformation. How can Buttigieg and all these other people, and we don't have to quote all of it, be so wrong about something that's so easy to look up? And obviously, the facts undercut the entire argument they're making. Let me give you another example with the California wildfires and wildfires across the country. We hear all the time that these are the worst wildfires ever. Have you heard this claim? 8,000 wildfires, 3.4 million acres, 25 deaths, 5,400 structures destroyed. Those are all dramatic figures and all terrible. The Atlantic says this year is already the most destructive wildfire season. The Week said, living through the apocalypse. The Atlantic again, the U.S. is on the path of destruction. Climate change is killing Americans. CNBC said, even though the U.S. is only halfway through the wildfire season, this year is one of the worst in history. So we're going to ignore the fact that this is mostly caused by poor forest management, which is a fact agreed upon by Gavin Newsom. He acknowledged it to Trump the other day. But these claims aren't true at all. If any of these articles include any data and history and charts, the charts start in 1990. There was history prior to 1990. Like, what a ridiculous, oh, it's the worst wildfires ever in the last 30 years. And hope no one notices. Nationwide, we're not even on path to exceed the number of acres burned in 2017. So the ridiculousness of these statements that this is the worst wildfire season in history, you just gotta go back 3 years ago was worse. But even 3 years ago, because someone can make the argument, well, 2017 was like really, really, really bad, so we're not gonna, no, it wasn't. Not comparatively. Check out this graph. This chart goes back to 1930, 1926 specifically. On the left and on the right is 2017. This is the U.S. forest area burned in acres. 2017 burned 1/5 of the acreage in the 30s. That's according to the National Interagency Fire Center. Okay. So you look, can you guys throw it up again one more time? So it starts 1926. So you look 1926 to about 1954-ish or so. That's when the numbers are really high. The wildfires today are a fraction. A fraction. Probably because our ability to fight them are better, right? Back in 1926, it was about wildfire. Like, what are you going to do, right? You don't have like DC-10 airplanes with dropping 80,000 gallons of fire repellent, right? So we had things were bad then, but then we had a really good run from like 54 to 2002. And I wonder how much of that downtick was because of better forest management. And then again, how much of the uptick from about 2002 was because of bad forest management. But my point of this is everyone's lying to you all the time. Specifically with the fires, don't think that any of this is anything new.
Wow, that was deep and insightful. I want more of that. Like,
subscribe, get more.